The nephew in question is James. He's nearly an adult. The other nephews and nieces in question are Cole, 28 male, and Melody, 30 female, and Bryony, 30 female. My sister is the biological mother of Cole, Melody, and Bryony. Their father died when the kids were little. My sister married James's dad 15 years ago, and she never formally adopted him but did raise him as her son. There was a lot of tension and conflict in the house, and Cole, Melody, and Bryony all moved out immediately upon graduating and turning 18. But the relationship with my sister then ended. It also ended with James and his father. I stayed in contact with the three of them though, and have always known where they were, and that they were not interested in reconciliation. Ever since my sister took on James as her own, they have allowed him to believe she's his biological mother, and that the other kids are his biological siblings. It was only a few years ago I realized he thought that they shared the same father as well. My sister and her husband have always encouraged James to believe that his siblings love and want to know him, and that they will have a relationship one day. He's been craving that more in the last 2.5 years or so. He's mentioned it several times. Some family members and I tried to convince his parents to tell him the biological truth, so he's not faced with it from people who won't care about cushioning his feelings or ensuring that he's okay. They refused. My sister said there is no biological truth. They are the parents and all 4 are their kids, and it ends there. James has been talking to me a lot about finding his siblings and being excited to have them back in his life. He mentioned how maybe he could reconcile their parents and them too, and how he hoped to prove he never replaced them, and that he knows it must have been hard to have a baby come into the family, so that later, he believed that was what the estrangement was about, what his parents told him. I decided he needed to know after my sister and her husband refused to talk to him again. So I was honest. My sister wasn't his bio mom, and his dad was not their bio dad. They were not blood siblings. I told him I loved him, and it didn't make him any less of my nephew, but I didn't want him blindsided by not getting the response he was expecting. He asked me if they would actually want a relationship with him. I told him no. He confronted his parents about the lies and how they set him up. My sister called and told me I was an idiot and stepped out of my place by telling him what I did without her and her husband's consent. I can see my nephew James struggling and trying to work out his head after the truth, making my sister's words hit harder. Am I the idiot? So you're telling me he spent almost a decade believing he was responsible for his family breaking apart and struggling with that guilt, and your sister and her husband just let him? OMG. That poor boy would spend a lifetime trying to heal something using the wrong medicine if you weren't honest with him. Now he can factor in this new truth in his contact with his siblings. If he continues to reach out, he must know the truth. Honestly, it's important for other reasons, like medically. I can't believe how absolutely selfish his parents have been, not only lying to him but giving him the guilt of simply being born on top of it. How did they honestly see this panning out? Not the idiot. I hate it when people try to say it's none of your business and that you should keep out of it when someone's actively hurting someone. This could have been worse if you hadn't intervened, OP. She's only mad for being called out because she knows she messed up. I feel bad for all four of them, but she and her husband are the worst. These kinds of lies always come out, better sooner rather than later, in my opinion. And he's close enough to 18 that his sister's opinion isn't all that important anymore. It sounds like your sister was caught up in a happy family fantasy. And it's weird, a happy family fantasy when 3 of your kids have estranged themselves. And you're teaching the 4th that it was his fault. But shouldn't it was cruel to lie to him about his parentage and to set him up to be blindsided when he finally sought out his other family members? You did him a kindness by telling him the truth before he went on that journey. My sister, teen, and I, 19, are taking the same voice class at a community college. The class requires you to sing 5 times over the semester. My sister is incredibly shy and has sung 5 times, but it's always been on Zoom for the professor. Actually, a couple of things are, nobody knows I'm her sister. She's adopted and we look nothing alike, and she's by far the youngest in the class. Most of the class is in their mid-20s or early 30s, so everyone kind of babies her a little. My mom's friend's daughter, Anna, 25, is also in the class, and my mom asked Anna to watch my sister and make sure she was doing okay. Anna also drives my sister to and from class because I go with my friends. Anna babies her a lot. She gives her candy, takes her out to eat before class, and makes sure everyone's nice to her. My sister sang on Tuesday, and when she was in a practice room, Anna went around and told everyone to clap for her, no matter how she did, and only to give nice comments because she was terrified. Then my sister sang, and she sucked. She was looking down the whole time and had her arms around her chest. They had to restart the song for her twice. She was ahead of the music and didn't get half the notes right. Everyone clapped for her except for me. Then it was time for comments. I was not rude. I just told her that the song needed a lot more work and she should probably pick a different song. She picked a different song and told her to calm down before she sang again. She ended up crying and Anna gave me a death stare. Anna took her home early, and when she got back to class, she pulled me aside and asked if I had to make those comments and if it was necessary. We couldn't have waited until they were home, and she wasn't on stage in front of the class. So I said that I would have said that to anybody, and that she doesn't get special treatment just because she's afraid to talk or sing in front of people. When I got home, my mom yelled at me for being mean to my sister and said that she cried in her room for half an hour because of how her performance went. I don't think it was a big deal, but everyone else does. So I wanted to know if I was the idiot. The answer is yes, you are the idiot. I teach theater at the college level. Rule number 1 in my class, and every performance class I've ever taken, is to applaud everyone unless you are explicitly meant to withhold applause. You honor that person's work every time without fail. The feedback is perhaps a different issue, but it sounds like you went out of your way to bully your little sister, not to offer the same constructive feedback you'd have given another student. But do other students typically give harsher feedback, or is that usually the professor's job? In either case, well, Anna's not doing your sister any favors. You are far more the idiot. Feedback should be things like, "It was very brave of you to perform, and it was clear that you were nervous. Next time, some deep breathing ahead of time might help with the nerves. I like X about your voice, and think a song like example title would showcase X more effectively than this song did." Yeah, you can't justify being rude and crappy with "it's the truth." The rest of us learned polite communication in kindergarten. Smarten up. Agree. Being nice costs nothing, especially to someone who just sounds like she's starting out. She was trying to overcome fear, and you made the experience more embarrassing. People with anxiety about doing certain things need to expose themselves to the situations to learn there's nothing to be afraid of. You showed her that when she tries, if she fails the first time, you'll be there to tear her down instead of pushing her up. She works part of the week at the office and part of it at home. Her home office is in front of our house and looks directly into the house across the street. Recently, she's been telling me that when she works from home, she sees a man visiting the neighbor's house either after Bob leaves for work or before he comes home. She swears she's once saw adult activities between this stranger and Susan because their curtains were open. At first, it was just humorous, but as the weeks passed, my wife became more agitated with the situation. She wanted me to talk to Bob to tell him what was going on, to which I refused because it's not our problem and we don't know if they have an arrangement. Then she took pictures on her phone to show me the car and the guy. It was almost a fight to make her delete the pics. Now the agitation has turned into full-blown anger at me because she's mad that I'm not more concerned with Susan cheating on Bob. I told her I have our lives to live, and I simply don't care what goes on in their house. This answer angered her so much that she slept in the guest bedroom for a few nights. I don't feel like I'm doing anything wrong by minding my own business, but I also slept alone for a couple of nights. Not the idiot. Why doesn't your wife waltz on over there and sing like a canary? Why is this so important to her to butt into these people's lives, but doesn't have the stones to do it herself? Your wife is a huge idiot for wanting you to do her dirty work for her. If this blows up in somebody's face, it will be yours and not hers. Let her continue to sleep in the guest room. You've done nothing wrong. Do some people not understand that sometimes people know their spouses have side relationships, or that interfering in other people's extramarital affairs is how you end up on Dateline? I wonder if there might be something else going on in your marriage that you're unaware of. Your wife is acting bizarre, obsessing over this other couple's relationship, and then punishing you for not caring. Is everything okay in your marriage? I think the wife needs to worry about her job instead of making up a soap opera in her head. She sounds bored and in need of drama in her life. However, she may take your disinterest in the neighbors' lives to mean that you're okay with infidelity. This could create problems in your relationship. I, 33, female, am currently 5 months pregnant. My husband, 35, is on a business trip and should be back next month. This is my first pregnancy and I'm still required to go to the office to work. When I first met my husband, he was very skinny and at a very unhealthy weight and would genuinely avoid many foods. I thought he was just picky, but once I managed to get him to try my cooking and he enjoyed it, I found out that this was due to my mother-in-law's cooking. My husband said this is because my cooking is very different from his mother's. I was confused at first, but eventually I realized what he meant. His mother doesn't add any spices, sauces, or herbs to her cooking. No salt, sugar, or pepper. And the only oil used to cook is vegetable oil. Everything tastes bland because she believes this is healthy, resulting in my husband believing all the food tastes bland and horrible. So, of course, when I got together with my husband, he tried new foods and gained a healthy weight. On Wednesday, I made some curry. I normally try to do some meal prep, and had a few meals in the freezer, planning to use those, but I had a very bad curry craving. I had made too much, and was planning to have some the next day, since I don't mind eating the same meal a few times a day or week. So, I left the spares in the fridge. While I was at work, my in-laws decided to visit and check up on me. They have a spare key, just in case something goes wrong. When I came back home, I was starving, and wanted to put the curry in the microwave to find out that it wasn't in the fridge. Instead, there was a dish made by my mother-in-law. I called her and asked her what happened to my food, and she said she tried it, and it tasted spoiled, so she threw it away and she made me something healthy. I ended up ordering takeaway that day, as in my current state, I find her cooking beyond revolting. Today I put the fish she made in the container and gave it to the homeless person. Unfortunately, it seems someone saw me doing that, as within a few hours I got a dozen messages calling me an idiot, including my mother-in-law. My husband is on my side here, but am I the idiot? I can't believe you'd subject a poor homeless person to that. It sounds disgusting. Okay, jokes aside, not the idiot. Your in-laws threw away your food because it wasn't to their liking and replaced it with their bland garbage. That's incredibly passive-aggressive. I don't blame you, and you need to change the locks. They went into your home without your knowledge and threw away something of yours. But this time it was curry. What will it be the next time? Formula because you're poisoning her grandbaby. Clothes because it doesn't fit you anymore? Why was she in your fridge, snooping? It makes me wonder where else she was snooping, and how often this happens. No more keys for them. Yes, if you let yourself in, i.e. break into someone's house when they're not home and throw away their food, you lose your key privileges. Hun, I would get those keys back or change the locks since they showed they couldn't be trusted, and you know she made copies for emergencies. To be honest, OP, it almost seems like the in-laws or something is stalking you. For your sister-in-law to just happen to walk by that very homeless person after work and look at them, it's too much of a coincidence. And it was long enough to know that it was her mother's. Seems so far off. Like weird how they assumed it was the same food your mother-in-law left, and then got a rate so quick that they didn't even have the decency to ask you if you make stuff for homeless people. They went nuclear, trying to involve your husband. But flags, OP when they showed up to check on you. Your in-laws knew you weren't home either. I mean, if they didn't see your car, why not call or text to see how you were doing and when you were coming home? Literally all I could think of is someone's watching her. Do they have cameras set up in her home? She's being watched and not in a healthy, checking if you need anything while hubby's out of town way. Scary. A girl 18 at my school is a fat positivity activist on TikTok. She films herself eating, twerking, and making the fat on her butt jiggle for the camera while saying how in love with her body she is. She's always saying that being fat is an honor and beautiful. This is important for later on. For a public speaking assignment in class, she wrote about how modeling should be illegal because the models in Fashion Week are skinny and tall, and they look like freaks and not like normal girls. And they make everyone feel uncomfortable watching them. The whole assignment was about speaking calmly and effectively, but she spoke angrily and aggressively. I'm pretty sure her whole speech was directed at me because it's known at school that I walk in Fashion Week, and she was weirdly staring me down. That's free for the audience counter-argument part. The teacher asked me what I thought of the argument since I walked in Fashion Week. I said, I thought it was all pretty ridiculous. Of course. The girl and her girls came up to me at lunch and said that I was eating fruit salad because I have disordered eating, which I don't. She then said, you're only allowed to walk because you're tall and skinny, just so you know, in a derogatory way. I said, and you're not allowed to, because you're short and fat. So what's your point? She yelled, and the mask is off. I was waiting for you to show your bigotry and insult me. However, if being fat is an honor and beautiful, as she's always said, I don't see how stating she's fat is an insult or bigoted. Of course, I would be angry if someone called me fat, but that's because I don't see it as an honor and she supposedly does. Not the idiot. Hypocrisy at its worst. The mask is off. Clearly, she's been trying to get you to respond in a certain way to prove her point. It's kind of a shame that you did. It might have been more effective to just feign ignorance at what she was getting at and let her continue to make herself look like an insecure moron. It sounds like she's deeply insecure about being obese, and that the whole fat positivity thing is a front she can put on to deflect shame or other negative feelings. Or other negative feelings about herself. If she promotes body positivity, she should be reminded that forest is not an insult. Moreover, congratulations on walking in Fashion Week. This modeling can be hard work. It takes a lot to get out there and do it. Everyone is being an idiot here. I feel that you both have been throwing passive-aggressive jabs at each other for a while. So yes, she was wrong to approach you and comment on your body. But from the way you say making the fat on her butt jiggle for the camera, it makes me feel like you two have probably said and done some things.